Q&A. First, have you had any experience handling expenses for an organization? So in the past, I've seen financial statements of an organization, specifically Honda, so I can reference how they organize their own financials and budgets and apply some of these skills to Choify. However, in terms of handling expenses, I've done that really closely for myself throughout the semester. And the way that I handle my budget is to manage my variable expenses very closely for the month and to see if there are any discrepancies between my actual and budgeted spendings. I also plan my expenses for all the trips that I do ahead of time to make sure that I'm staying on my monthly budget. And then I plan on applying this to Choify by managing the different expenses of the club very closely to properly reallocate the funds if we need to, and also planning the budget ahead of time so that I can take better control of the finances. What fundraising ideas do you have for the next year? For fundraising, one of the things that I want to do is implement a fundraising committee open to board members and interns so that we can generate the most ideas possible and also have more people on board with the fundraising event. I, as a treasurer, of course, would be in charge of handling the cash and creating the budget for fundraising if needed. But I know with fundraising, there's a lot of logistics involved, and there might be some issues with administration at USC, so making sure that we have enough support from board on this event is very important. And then another idea I have for fundraising is working on strengthening our corporate sponsorships, not only limited to Filipino businesses. And I know the Club Tao also does this, which helps them have food for their events sometimes, and also they offer discounts for their members. And the contributions that we would be looking for from businesses would either be in-kind donations or monetary donations for the club. And this would be something that I want to start working on before the school year starts over the summer. How would you deal with a difficult situation pertaining to Choify's finances? For example, not having enough money on board for a certain event. So a preventative measure that I would have in place for this situation is to allocate a fund within our budget for emergencies so we don't run into problems like this. However, I plan on budgeting for events well in advance to prevent this from happening so that we can take measures quickly, like applying for USG or APOSA funding or having a fundraiser if needed. How would you handle any unexpected or unforeseen expenses? For example, having to pay for fees that you did not budget. So as a preventative measure, what I would do is create budgets well ahead of time, 1 to 2 months in advance, so that we have more flexibility in reallocating the budget if needed. And in order to combat these expenses, I would base the budget for events by benchmarking from last year's numbers. However, I know that sometimes it could happen where we spend more than expected, so I believe that creating the budgets ahead of time for multiple consecutive events is very helpful so that you can reallocate funds if we spend way too much on one event, for example. How can you improve upon helping others with programming budget? So like I said earlier, from events that happen every year, I would definitely reference the past spending from previous events and use them as a benchmark. And this would help guide the board members on their programming budget. And in addition to this, I want to really work closely with each board member for each event that they have. And in terms of that, I believe that it's very difficult to just give each board member a specific number that they have to stick to without hearing their insights. So one of the things that I really want to do is talk to each board member and work with them very closely before each event that happens of theirs. And I want to make sure that the budget that I give them would be one that wouldn't take away from the event and that they have enough money to do what they want. And it also be something that's reasonable for the financial state of the organization. Thank you.